Good evening. The Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission appreciates the opportunity to be live in Detroit. We look forward to hearing from you. As chair of the commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 6:08 p.m. This Zoom webinar is live streamed on YouTube on the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission YouTube channel. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they are currently using, please visit our social media at Redistricting MI. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. Closed captioning, ASL interpretation, Spanish, Arabic, and Bengali translation services will be provided for effective participation in this meeting. Email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for additional viewing options or details on accessing language translation services for this meeting. People with disabilities needing other specific accommodations should also contact redistricting@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed, and those closed caption transcripts will be made available and posted on the michigan.gov/MICRC website, along with written public comment submissions. There's also a public comment portal that may be accessed by visiting michigan.gov/MICRC. Members of the media who may have questions before, during, or after the meeting should direct those questions to Edward Woods III, Executive Director for the Commission, at woodse3@michigan.gov or 517-331-6309. For the public watching and the public record, I will turn to the Department of State staff to take note of the commissioners present.
Good evening, commissioners. Please stay present when I call your name. If you are attending the meeting remotely, please state the county, city, township, and village, and the state from which you're attending. I will call commissioners' names in alphabetical order, starting with Commissioner Andrade.
Present.
Commissioner Callahan.
Present.
Commissioner Curry.
Present, attending remotely from Detroit, Michigan.
Commissioner Eade.
Present.
Commissioner Kellum.
Present.
Commissioner Lang.
Present, attending remotely from Reed City, Michigan.
Commissioner Letts.
Present.
Commissioner Muldoon.
Present.
Commissioner Orton.
Present.
Commissioner Zatella.
Present, attending remotely from Wayne County, Michigan.
Commissioner Vallette.
Present.
Commissioner Wagner. Commissioner Weiss.
Attending remotely from Saginaw Township, Saginaw, Michigan.
I'm going to go back to Commissioner Wagner. Madam Chair, you have 12 commissioners present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Young.
You're welcome.
As a reminder to the public watching, you can view the agenda at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. I would now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Eade, seconded by Commissioner Weiss. Is there any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing
Madam
none.
Chair, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Commissioner Lang.
Earlier, we were talking about adding a discussion about the public comment. I think you said we would add it to our discussion this afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. So would that be appropriate to add?
Sure. Would you like to move that we add that?
I move that we have a quick discussion regarding public comment and the number of times people can give public comment.
And would you like to add that in before the public comment this evening?
Could we please?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the agenda to add a discussion about public comment before the public comment this evening. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor of amending the agenda to that, to include that item, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed, raise your hand and say nay. The ayes prevail and the agenda is amended. Now we need a motion to adopt the amended agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded that we adopt the amended agenda. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor of adopting the amended agenda, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed, raise your hand and say nay. The amended agenda is adopted. Okay, so we will, before the public comment guidelines, I guess, we will have this discussion. Commissioner Lang, do you want to start us off?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. From as far as I remember, when it came to the public giving 2 sets of public comment, that was during our public hearings when we were gathering input and was not necessarily during our regular meetings. Once the public hearings stopped, we were giving a single public comment at our regular meetings. So I think we should stay the course on that. I know there will be a public hearing once the maps are in that 45-day review. We're required to have a public hearing. So I would say at that time, if somebody wanted to sign up for 2, that would be appropriate. Just my thoughts.
Commissioner Lett.
Well, I respectfully disagree with that recollection. I sat through any number of meetings at the MSU Union in which we had people sign up for 1 and then for 2 meetings or 2 comments there. Specifically, I do remember Sarah Howard because she was at almost all of our meetings at the union, and she would always sign up for 2. Once everybody got through, then they would come back if they had something more to say and have a second time to do it. So I would respectfully say that that's something that we've done in the past, and I really was quite flabbergasted that we had an objection to it at this time.
Commissioner Ling, your hand is up. Is it again or?
It's again.
Go ahead.
During all of our online meetings, we've had 1 public comment when people have given public comment. My comments today were very specific about it. If we were going to do it for 1, then everybody should have been given that option, including the people that signed up online. I'm not going to fight anymore. I am so sick of this. I'm sorry.
Is there any more discussion on this? Commissioner Lett.
Well, I guess then, just to make it clear, I would move that any of the comments that we take either in person with these fine people that we have sitting out here now, or anybody online, that we would offer them, once they've completed their first comment, they can sign up and have a second comment.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, and is there discussion? I see Sarah Reinhardt's hand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did just want to note that when we've allowed second public comments in the past, For those individuals who have signed up to provide public comment remotely, that's something that we do ask them to indicate at least an hour in advance of the public meeting when the virtual public comment sign up closes. So at this point, if the commission wanted to implement this rule change for today's proceeding, it would be allowed for in-person public comment, but not for virtual public comment. And for that reason, I would recommend that if this change were to occur, that it would go into effect at the next meeting.
Commissioner Lepp.
I understand that problem, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, about 19 people here. And to institute this now immediately would seem to be fair. If a few people on the phone miss out, I'm sorry, I apologize. I didn't think it was going to be a problem.
Any other discussion? Okay, then we will take a vote on the motion to allow, starting now, in-person and remote public commenters to sign up for a second chance to speak after everyone has had a first chance, but for the remote people, that wouldn't go into effect until tomorrow's meeting because of the time constraints. All in favor, say yes. Raise your hand and say yes. Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed, raise your hand and say nay.
Nay.
I'm going to abstain due to lack of information. This is Commissioner Zatala.
Okay, the ayes prevail, and the motion is adopted. Without objection, I will ask MICRC Executive Director Woods to review the public comment guidelines. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, and welcome to each and every one of you who are here to provide public comment. We want to thank you for engaging in this very important process of democracy and want to affirm that we want to hear from you, even though you, how do I want to say this? Regardless of where you are or the perspective you may hold. As a part of your 90 seconds, we want to remind you that we expect civil, interactive discussion. We don't want you to call out any commissioner or make any innuendos, but to address the commission as a whole. We want to hear from you. We want to know how we can improve the maps, and we want to make sure that we clearly understand the communities of interest that are impacting the City of Detroit residents. You are welcomed here, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for investing your time and coming out tonight, whether you're in person or here or coming on virtually. Thank you again.
Commissioner Janice Follett will facilitate the public comment portion of this meeting.
Without objection, we will begin the public comment pertaining to mapping. Hearing no objection, we will now proceed with public comment. Individuals who have signed up and indicated that they would like to provide in-person public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. Please step up to the nearest microphone when I call your number. You will have 90 seconds to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when your 90 seconds have ended and you hear the timer. Please also go to the public comment tool and share your comments in writing, including any specific area of the map about which you are speaking. The public comment tool is at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. There is a public comment station here tonight with volunteers to assist you in accessing the website if you would like assistance. Additionally, if you have a time constraint or do not wish to wait, please use the public comment portal. First in line to provide public comment is number 1. Number 1, you are now invited to address the commission.
Good evening. I live in Grosse Pointe Woods, District Hickory 10, I believe, so I am directly affected by the court order. First, I would like to thank the Commission for all your work to date. Satisfying the 7 constitutional requirements for districting is not an easy task, as we now know. I do urge the Commission to fix the problems identified by the court, and only the problems identified by the court. Do not try to outsmart the court and redraw the other districts. There's no need to do so. Let us not drag this process out more than necessary and not draw into question the legitimacy of the Commission. Redrawing other districts will result in elongating the process and draw into question the integrity of this Commission. As for my community of interest, I, like most of us, could choose one of several. My most important community of interest is with the 2,519,974 other Michigan voters who voted for the MICRC and competitive districts across all of Michigan. Don't give the court a slam dunk to institute their maps over the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission's maps. The people of the state of Michigan voted for the MICRC for a reason, and I hope the Commission fulfills that mission and not the federal judiciary. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 2.
Good evening. I'm a resident of Wayne County, City of Detroit particularly, and I strongly feel that Detroit residents have been grossly disenfranchised with the redrawing of the map. If we are so concerned as a commission to uphold the Constitution and have a democratic society, then I think there needs to be reconsideration of the boundaries. It's like playing in a sports activity. Change the rules in favor of one opponent so that that opponent can gain victory and the other opponent loses. And I feel that that's what has been done up to this point. So I ask that you reconsider what has been done and that you would look forward to a democratic society where we all have the same opportunities to do the things that only a few have an option to do. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 3.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Andre Sabbath. I'm not familiar with the redistricting process. I'm just here for some information. How does it work? And do I currently still live in the 13th district? Thank you.
Sir, we have some folks outside with computers that can help you determine that. And then if you want to work with them and sign up for another round of public comment, you can.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 4.
Hello, Commissioners. Firstly, thank you so much for all your hard work protecting the fairness of our state elections. My name is Tristan Jessup. I am a resident and registered voter of Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I care a lot about the fairness of our democracy and protecting the voices of the people. Although I am not a resident of Detroit, the decisions you make here impact the entire state. Voters agreed to create this commission in order to correct and prevent partisan gerrymandering and unethical manipulation of election results to undermine the collective will of the people. As such, it is vitally important that while you redraw these districts or redraw some of the boundaries, that you take special care to ensure that they properly reflect all voters equally, regardless of partisan affiliation. Thank you again for all the time and effort you put into this role. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 5.
Good evening. My name's Chris Gilmer Hill. I'm a lifelong Palmer Park area resident in Palmer Woods. I'd firstly like to thank you all for spending so much time listening to comments from Detroiters, and specifically for giving us the opportunity to have that extra round, a little bit more time to tell you our thoughts. We do appreciate that, and I know it's you all taking extra time to listen to us, so that is appreciated. In this first round of comment, I'd like to really focus on this Black COI question that I know the Commission has spent a lot of time on, especially in light of the updated legal guidance you got this morning saying that you should consider African American communities of interest just the same as you do with Arab American and Hispanic communities of interest. I'd like to specifically highlight that Oak Park and Detroit are a community of interest. That, like Oak Park, Royal Oak Township, Detroit chunk that I outlined for you yesterday is a community of interest. I'd also like to stress that you can draw a Detroit-centric district that still includes the Ferndale LGBT community of interest with Palmer Park. I'd like to read from an article that was recently published on that, which says, quote, "I think it would be a mistake to say that Palmer Park is no longer a gay neighborhood," says Dr. Tim Retzloff, a historian who has tracked the gay migration in Metro Detroit. "In some respects, there's still a strong gay presence in Palmer Park. It's just that now it's an African-American gay presence and not a white gay presence." Lastly, I'm going to pass along some job information showing that the majority of workers in Oak Park are actually Detroit residents, and or not majority, but the largest chunk are from Detroit, and the largest chunk of workers from Detroit from Oak Park work in Detroit. The same is true for Ferndale. That's what I have here.
Thank you for addressing the Commission. Next in line is number 6.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Amanda Siggins. I live in Cadillac, Michigan, and I came here tonight to make public comment because your decisions affect everyone across the state. I appreciate all of you taking your time to be on this commission. I value your work, and I just want you to remember that when you're deciding on the map and the districts, that to keep in mind the special populations of people who are dealing with housing insecurity and homelessness, especially here in Detroit, because those people are not equally represented in government. And I just want you to remember that those people struggling with those issues are not counted in our census, and they're still not represented in our government well. And I just want you to keep that in mind when you're drawing the map, so that you keep the maps as nonpartisan as possible, so that we have equal representation for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you for addressing the Commission. Next in line is number 7.
Hi, how are you? My name is Kamal Clark. I'm a resident of the east side of Detroit. Just, of course, want to thank you for, of course, opening up this space this week for people to share feedback and contributions. This is a challenging position to be in, I'm sure, and so I'm appreciative of that. I'll be short and sweet. I think, of course, I would echo the sentiment of just wanting to make sure that we're honoring the integrity of neighborhoods. It's something that's super important, particularly right now for Detroit, as we're going through our own redistricting of our own with our city council districts, largely because our charter mandates that there be an equal number of people in each district. And so what we've been finding through seeing some of the meetings that have been happening, public meetings, is that there's a really big importance in neighborhood identity and folk wanting to be in similar status or similar cultural clusters with folk, and I do think there's an importance to that, and that's been one of the challenges that the city of Detroit has been facing in carving out new maps. And so just want to echo, of course, the importance of neighborhood identity, and also too, of course, making sure that the information is accessible for people. But of course, thank you so much for having these meetings. So yeah.
Thank you for addressing the Commission. Next in line is number 8.
Gratitude, Commissioners. My name is Art Reyes. I just first want to express an incredible amount of gratitude to the Commission for this really critical work. We understand, that folks have other regular jobs and are taking this on in addition to all the things that you carry. I think for us, it's really, really clear that when we talk about protecting democracy in this country, one of the things that is critical is actually having fair maps that have partisan fairness. We're seeing a number of states across the country where this is flatly not the case, and it's having a substantial impact on policy outcomes that often directly and disproportionately impact some of our most marginalized communities across the country. So I think for me, it is clear that there is opportunity to both be really thoughtful in taking into account communities of interest while also making sure that partisan fairness is upheld. I remember casting my ballot in the state of Michigan, knowing that regardless of that ballot being cast, the majority, at least in the state Senate, had already been predetermined. And that ultimately disenfranchises us no matter where you are in the state of Michigan. So I just want to encourage the commission to really hold both communities of interest that are really, really critical. I know there's a lot of folks who have a lot of important thoughts on that, while also preserving partisan fairness that is incredibly important to protecting democracy in the state of Michigan and modeling to neighboring states like Wisconsin and Ohio.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next is number 9.
Hi, good evening. My name is Diego, and I've been an almost lifelong resident of Southwest Detroit. First off, I'd like to thank you, as everyone has today, for the work that you're putting into this process. Historically, Southwest Detroit has a strong sense of community amongst those that live in the neighborhood. For generations, it has been an area where newcomers have been able to find a community and forge a life for themselves. I often say when I'm in Southwest Detroit that I feel like I'm in a small town. I recognize people I went to high school with at my local grocery store. I see people I went to church growing up with out and about on Verner Highway. This community deserves unified representation that will understand and represent the lived experience of those who call it home. And so Southwest to me includes the neighborhoods of Spring Willows Village, Mexican Town, Chatsey Condon, everything south of 94, 96 to the east, up to the Dearborn city limit to the west, and the Detroit River to the south. You'll notice that my description includes the area south of 4th Street in a neighborhood called Del Rey. This population has been severely splintered because of the construction of the new bridge, but if you ask most of the residents that live there, they feel that strong sense of identity to Southwest Detroit. And above all, I would like to encourage folks to continue displaying that effort to partisan fairness to ensure that we have competitive and fair districts. Thank you.
Diego, sorry, I have to mash this down. Can you rename what you consider Southwest Detroit slower so I can write those down?
Yes.
Thank you.
I can also submit a written comment online.
Just give it to me right
Sure.
now. You can do both, but I want to hear it again.
Yeah, so I included Spring Willows Village, Mexican Town, and Chadsey Condon, which is that neighborhood just north of Michigan. And then the kind of limits that I would draw is everything south of 94, 96 to the east, up to the Dearborn city limit to the west, and then the Detroit River to the south, which would include that Del Rey neighborhood.
One more time, just way slower.
I'm so sorry.
Spring Wells, and then give me what's after that.
Spring Willows Village, Mexican Town, Chadsey Condon, and then kind of in the corners in the north is 94, the east 96, the south is the Detroit River, and then to the west is the Dearborn city limit, which kind of, yeah.
Thank you. I asked because like sometimes that's what's missing from public comment. It's interesting, or it would be helpful for us to know exactly what people see and the areas in which you're talking about, because then you're bringing us back home with you. So that's the important part. I'm a native Detroiter, but I don't live in Southwest. I live in North Corktown right now, but I don't live where you live. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Sorry for talking fast.
No, you're okay.
Thank you. Next in line is number 10.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Lisbeth Fuentes, and I am from Kalamazoo, Michigan. First of all, I want to thank you all commissioners for being here tonight, because as my friend said, we all have regular jobs, and we're here trying to make our communities better. I just want to say that I am an immigrant. I moved to Michigan about 25 years ago. As I said, I don't live here in Detroit, but I live in Kalamazoo. And I just want to echo what my friend Diego said about keeping the communities together, especially important for us immigrants who are in the minority. I want to say that we really agree with keeping Southwest Detroit, in addition to those communities together. It's really important to us immigrants and minorities. So thank you so much.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 11.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Nelly Fuentes, and I am also from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I also really want to thank you for being here this late at night. I know dinner probably sounds really good right now, and yet you're listening to all of our testimony, so I deeply thank you for that. Even though I reside in Kalamazoo, I do call Michigan my home state. Even though I immigrated here about 24 years ago. And Southwest Detroit, for me, even though I don't live there, is a pivotal part of the community that where I have very fond memories of people that I love and care about, my friends, my community. A lot of my community resides there. And so Southwest Detroit is also a pivotal part of the Detroit community in itself. And I urged you to please keep it together with no boundaries that is split it. I will not go through all the names of the neighborhoods again, as my friend Diego had mentioned them. But I am here to tell you and to urge you to please follow the Constitution as required. And because partisan fairness is above city lines and nice shapes, keeping our neighborhoods together is more important than anything. So thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 12. Sarah, do we have any more?
Yes, we have one more, number 13.
One more. So that would be number 13.
Hello again, this is Norman Clement. I am a resident of the city of Detroit. I followed this process pretty much for the past 3 to 4 years. So again, thank you for doing this process again. Just a reminder that people have come out, those communities are here. They probably shared maps before, and communities of interest is a very, very top priority of the subject. Make sure that we're keeping those boundaries whole, make sure the representation is represented, and that is the main thing that we are concerned about. We want to make sure that the boundaries are not just straight lines on the streets, but also we understand that the movement of people happen every single day. Everything since 2020. We have a mass population of African Americans that have moved in Macomb, Southfield, parts of Farmington. So the massment of people are all over, not just in Detroit. So making sure those communities of interest are a part of those boundaries, of those interests that you have, and keep doing the good work. And we'll sit and listen, look back, and give our feedback.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide live or remote public commentary to the commission will now be allowed. I will call your name and our staff will unmute you. If you are on a computer, you will be prompted by the Zoom app to unmute your microphone and speak. If you are on the phone, a voice will say that the host wants you to speak and prompt you to press *6 to unmute. I will call you by name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Also, please note that if you experience technical or audio issues, or we do not hear from you for 3 to 5 seconds, We will move on to the next person in line and then return to you after they have done speaking. If your audio still doesn't work, you can email redistricting@michigan.gov, and we will help you troubleshoot so you can participate during the next public comment period at a later meeting. You will have 90 seconds to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the timer. First in line with public comment is, sorry, I lost my thing. Ryan Reese. Please give our staff a minute to unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I am Ryan Reese, Reverend of a congregation in District 14. Thank you as before for your service. I want to thank you for bringing in the speaker earlier today, along with the legal counsel that spoke afterwards. I find that both of their information that they presented to you in the morning's meeting was of particular value in helping to address making sure that the numbers continue to stay correct without changing districts that do not need to be changed, protecting both partisan fairness and also at the same time helping to ensure that communities of interest and voters of color are allowed to receive the full representation that they deserve. And this would be of pivotal importance to the people in my district and neighboring districts. I would ask that you be mindful of those numbers and those requirements while considering the legal counsel that was given later on in the day about ways to address communities of interest in focusing upon their unique heritage, their unique regions, their unique interests. Do keep all of that information in mind and work to preserve the hard work that has been done already in past redistricting efforts. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is James Gallant. Please give our staff a moment to unmute you.
Hello, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. James Gallant, these are my opinions. So to the commission as a whole, I believe Member Lett's manners in public meetings amounts to bullying. It appears he overstepped his authority and bullied the chair when he appeared to answer the chair's request for advice from a parliamentarian. And he seemed to answer his own points of order in preference to the chair in the past. He is out of order, and that may constitute vulnerable adult abuse in Michigan. Please hire a certified parliamentarian to advise on the complete record of your special rules and the Robert's Rules as a Parliamentary Authority Manual. It would appear that General Counsel Nate Fink would be out of his professional capacity to act as a parliamentarian. Lawyer, yes, okay. And Secretary Benson should be here now because she's the secretary. And I believe Mr. Wood said that Sarah Reinhart was the secretary at last meeting, and Mr. Fink should have corrected her. Please do that, Mr. Fink. And any member, please request a point of order specifically for rules incident to debate, page 366, line 8. Because it's not only that you have no debate before a motion, you only have limited discussion to frame the motion. And this is a fundamental principle of parliamentary law in America, goes back 600 years. There was no immediately pending motion to discuss or a motion to approve.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Jeff Shayaper. Please give our staff a moment to unmute you.
That participant is not present.
Next in line is Huda Yassin. Please give our Staff, a moment to unmute you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Huda, and I'm here on behalf of Access. I'm an immigrant to the U.S. and was raised in Dearborn, home to one of the largest and most diverse Arab American and Middle Eastern North African communities in the U.S. Recently, I found myself required to check in white as my ethnicity on applications, even though if I were to walk down the streets, I would not be told I'm white. As a Middle Eastern, Arab American, and U.S. citizen, this was done for a reason, to effectively limit the data of Arab American minorities and consequently obscuring further financial aid. This isn't the first time, though. The redistricting process has reopened. Our community of Arab Americans primarily live, and these are our cities or communities of interest. They are Dearborn, Dearborn Heights, West Detroit, Melvindale, Hamtramck, Sterling Heights, Livonia, Canton, just to name a few. A redraw of the maps will split our community into more districts, causing an unfair count. And without a fair count of our community in the U.S. Census, we will be constantly invisible, and our power to vote is at risk of being diluted. As a part of minority and U.S. citizen, we deserve the same equal rights as everyone else, and the redistricting process will limit this. I'm here, not invisible, as the redraw tends to do so. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Michaela Cox. Please give our staff a moment to unmute you.
That participant is not present.
Next in line is Jackson Hamstra. Please give our staff a moment to unmute you.
That participant is also not present.
Is there anyone who hasn't spoken who would like a chance? Okay, that's all the public comment we have. Did you want to speak again? Okay.
Signed up for just a quick second round. I do appreciate this second. I'll be brief. I wanted to make the point that respecting Black communities of interest is not in conflict with partisanship or fair partisanship, but it's also not completing the job of ensuring fair partisanship. Now, the communities of interest that I have described, even when they cross 8 Mile, are crossing into areas that are already safely Democratic. And the districts around the Palmer Park area in like 5, 6, 7, 8 are all currently safe Democratic and in any plausible configuration would remain so. The respecting communities of interest there will not alter partisan fairness either way. But that's not the case further east, places like the Grosse Pointes, Harper Woods, South Clair Shores. So my plea to the commission, as has been made by many others, is that in redrawing these seats and in doing the narrow redraw touching those necessary to keep communities of interest intact, you also keep in mind partisan fairness at all steps, and that you shouldn't be afraid to make changes elsewhere on the map that fix partisan fairness if you mess it up by recombining districts further east to fix communities of interest. If you make a very competitive Grosse Pointe St. Clair Shores seat out of what's currently safe blue, that would justify something like making a more Democratic Taylor seat where currently there are 2 Republican seats. These are the kinds of changes that you should be making, but those are also the only sorts of changes you should be making elsewhere on the map. If you touch anything, it should make partisan fairness better, not worse. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to speak?
Are we, okay. So the question that I have is that this here is the membership board that is going to decide the new redistricting of Michigan, right? As far as the districts, correct? So you guys have prepared several maps of what you want the districts to look like, right? And I wanted to know how many maps are there, and do we have a say-so far as confirming which one, like as in a voting method to decide that, hey, this is what we want, or you guys are just gonna listen to what we have to say and then it's still up to you guys to make that final decision, or is the people going to have a voting type system to decide what the new districting, what they feel like the majority agrees it should look like?
Thank you for addressing the commission.
Thank you for that. Me and my microphone, I'm holding it down. I'm holding it down. I'm not letting it go. So we have the ultimate, like, we take a vote and review the maps. However, it is up to the public to give as much context as possible because, you know, the 13 of the commissioners, we have our own individual areas in which we live, play, stay, work, whatever, right? And so if enough folks, citizens, the people sitting out here don't, just like Diego got up here, and even though I shop in Southwest, I go to different taco trucks, I drive around the city of Detroit, I'm not a Southwest resident. So I can't pretend to know every nook and cranny just like he listed out. So for example, if you were to come and say, hey, this is a community of interest that I'm a part of, I echo the discussion of going into 8 Mile and Ferndale and including pieces of Royal Oak Township, or ROT as it's not affectionately called sometimes. Those are the things that we need to hear because some of our commissioners don't live in the city of Detroit and don't have that same knowledge. So while we have the final say, in quotations, whatever we decide, do or don't do, is built upon each citizen's public comment, written comment. Hey, I looked at this map. I like what you're doing. Commissioner X, can you tweak this area because I think you've forgotten this COI? So that's what we're waiting to hear. The courts have said that we cannot, mention race. We cannot have maps that are based on race. We know that we are redrawing the city of Detroit that is mostly one race, right? So the way that is discussed, the way that is better informed is to talk about communities of interest. Talk about it until you're blue in the face so that we have a clear picture of what the possibility for these districts have to be. Okay? Does that make sense, or you want something else? Come to the mic.
The question was, we're here voicing our opinions based on what we feel is just, right? But at the end of the day, you guys are amongst each other. We're saying what we're saying, but at the end of the day, you guys have the final say-so, right? Because we can't come back and say, oh, we don't agree with that. It's whatever you say is what I was trying to figure out.
So there can be some discourse while we're in this process, like coming to meetings like this, the written public comment. All of our meetings are live. So when we're drawing, like if there's enough time, we're going to draw tonight. No, you can't talk during that process, but you can take notes, furious notes, and say, just like I said, I saw Commissioner Kellum, you were drawing this area. I don't agree with that. I don't like that. And then I'm probably going to hear that comment. I'm going to run across it. And then I can provide feedback. There was a community of interest that came on Tuesday, and they shared that they did not like this. So I'm going to try to redraw this area based upon that. Everything that we draw has to be, that's one of our criteria. We have to consider communities of interest, which means that we have to consider you. So our final say as a citizen, I'm not a politician, nobody else up here is based upon what you all are saying. That's what it's supposed to be. We got it wrong the first time, but we're trying to get it right now.
How do we view whatever you guys have already came up with? Like the different maps. How many maps are there, and how can we see what you guys have pretty much came up with to say, okay, we like this one, we don't like that one, and then allow the majority to say, okay, yeah, we kind of like this one, and then y'all kind of favor that one, versus us not even seeing what you guys are already got in mind?
Yeah, so there's a computer outside where you can see the maps, but then in the comfort of your home, you can go to the MICRC website and look at our draft maps. That'll give you more of a relaxed space. Look at technology. They're pulling it up. It's this website right here. I'm not being facetious, but this is where you would go to look at the maps.
Excuse me, ma'am, I would really want to encourage you if you have any comments. We have Ryan Taylor, who is outside, and he can drop your comments on any of the map as relates to the community of interest, or if you have public comments in general, to please, please, please do that for the commission's consideration. Thank you so much for coming.
That concludes the public comment portion of the meeting, and we really appreciate everyone who offers public comment in whatever way they choose to do so. We encourage you to keep sharing your thoughts. Next on the agenda is the mapping process by the commission. So without objection, we will start with Brittany Kellum. Hearing no objection, please proceed, Commissioner Kellum.
Okay, John, I think you're my mapping buddy. Or Kim, is it both of you all? It's John, okay. Mr. Morgan. So what I would like, which version, commissioners, was I redrawing or recreating District 8? Which version was that?
I believe that was 1/18/24 V5 PM.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Commissioner Eid. Okay, so version 5, 1/18/24. I'm going to, if that's okay with the commissioners, I'm going to, Sarah Reinhardt has something to say.
Okay, can we pause that just a second? We have one more individual who has just arrived who would like to provide live public comment. Since we're just taking in lots of public comment tonight, let's hear him.
Hello. My name is Brandon Snyder. I'm a born and raised Detroiter, currently living on the northwest side of Detroit. I am involved in my community, and in 2022, last year or the year before last, I also made comment about the importance of making sure that we have districts that our known communities remain intact. Today I want to talk about the importance of compactness, to making sure that district lines and districts that have neighborhoods remain intact. One place I think in particular that's important is on the east side, the northeast side. Right now, one of the things I think is most important is making sure communities that are the same, that represent communities of working class communities, remain the same and remain connected with other communities. A place important like this that you can think of is the northeast side of Detroit, being connected with communities like Harper Woods and East Point. The last thing I'll say before I go back, and thank you all for being generous to offer me time to speak, is that there are community organizations, there are community groups, there are people who are interested in submitting maps, being interested in informing people of this opportunity, informing people of what's going on. One of the maps that I've looked at that I think is important, that reflects this idea of compactness as well as keeping communities together, is the Promote the Vote maps. So I would, encourage folks, if you're interested in learning about compactness, if you're interested in learning about making sure that neighborhoods remain the same, making sure neighborhoods remain intact, that you are able to take a look at maps like Promote the Vote, because they're made by and reflect the will of Detroiters. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission.
Now we will go back to Commissioner Kellum.
Okay. Version 5, 1:18:24 p.m. Our goal is to speaking or working on that area and then do an overlay of another map.
Okay, Commissioner Cullum, if you could, let's narrow down that plan name and see if I can find it real quick.
1:18:24, version 5 p.m.
Yep.
Because it was worked on in the afternoon, that one.
Okay, I'll bring that up, share my screen, and if you can just confirm that that is what you think it is. And
okay.
I mean, I've got the name correct, but it'll help to just confirm that it is what we think it is.
It looks like it. It's at an odd angle, but I think this is, yeah. This is
So there's it looks like there's a large portion that was still unassigned.
This is the correct map. This map name is 1:18:24, version 5 p.m.
Okay, and you want to continue editing this. So it's been our practice to save this as a new plan and give it today's date and a number. And if you want, you can add an optional name, a flower or something else if you want.
Okay.
Okay, so the naming convention, this would be 01 for January 23rd, 24, version 3, House District COL for collaborative. And if you want to add an additional name, you can. If not, it'll stand like that.
I can't think of anything that creative for a flower.
Okay.
Lily. A lily.
Okay.
Lilies are peaceful.
Okay, so again, this is the unassigned area that we identified before, and we have a new name for this plan, so we're ready to drop.
Okay, can you pull up the population? I was working on District 8, John, and I can't remember. I don't think I finished it. And I know that we need to assign that area that is unassigned.
That's right. District 8, it looks like
It's under.
Yeah, it's slightly under. It's just 2,000 under. So it's negative 2.3, which is generally within the tolerance that you've been using. Also, let me know if you want me to add the Detroit neighborhoods map.
I do, please.
Okay.
I might unassign the unassigned area first and then come back. As usual, commissioners, you can have suggestions because I'm looking at the fire screen over here, so I can't see. I'm not looking to my left. I don't know what's happening behind me. The neighborhood names are what I enjoy working with.
Okay, also, I'm just going to change District 11's color because it's very close to the unassigned color, so just...
I thought it was unassigned at first.
Okay, there you go. Now you can't miss it.
Thank you. Can we assign the unassigned area?
Okay, let me see what district number... it looks like all of the district numbers are taken, so you would assign it to an existing district such as 9, which is here, or possibly 12, which is currently on population, or 11, which is under. So would you like to look towards adding this into 9?
Commissioner, this is Kim Brace. What you have is 9 is underpopulated and 14 is underpopulated. So those need to gain territory.
Okay, let's start with assigning some of those areas that are unassigned into 9.
Okay. So the pink district here is District 9, and this is the border of 9 as it stands now.
So why don't we assign Gratiot Town, Kettering, the rest of Gratiot Grand,
That's a little more than you requested, but I think you're moving that direction, yes?
yes. Ideally, you see how it kind of caps at the west end, East Canfield and East Village. I want to see what happens if I fill all those areas in. If it's overpopulated, then I see that 11 is under slightly. So, I mean, some could be added there, but let's see what happens.
Okay, so 9 still has quite a bit of population to go, so you want to move up to the Connor Creek Industrial?
Yes, yes.
Okay, hang on. I've done something the computer does not like. One moment. Yeah, I know, but it's not letting me zoom in. I'm stuck. Okay, give me a moment. Okay, almost back. Just a second. Okay, I think we're back.
Great.
Okay, I think we're just about back to where we were, and I'm going to save the plan. Okay, so taking District 9 all the way over to the Connor Creek Industrial, that takes it to within 9,000 population. And then, as you mentioned, District 11 is also slightly underpopulated, 9,000.
I'm probably going to end up, you can assign that little piece into 11.
That much or not quite as much?
Let me see what that does.
That is only 1,300 people, so that's nowhere near enough, but it puts you on the right path.
Yeah, I can come back to that, but you can assign that for right now. And then
Okay.
for 9, what's 12? 12? You can assign that piece that is unassigned, Jefferson Chalmers, Riverbend, Fox Creek. I'm probably going to end up assigning.
Those into 9?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so if I just trim this portion here that is beyond the Fox Creek neighborhood, that would take District 9 to within the population, and District 11 is still a little bit off.
Okay. So you can trim that little piece, and then we'll look at what's happening between 11 and 12. 12 is slightly under as well, but
Yeah, and I'm also a little concerned here about 14 because it's showing it being substantially down, and I'm not seeing one that's substantially up, so I'll have to look for that in a moment.
okay.
I made him talk. Okay, so at this point, 9 is within the population tolerance. It's negative 0.32%, 291 people off. There's this unassigned territory here. 11 is under and 14 is under, and that's way up here. So do you want to work on 11 or work on 14?
I want to work on 11, and then maybe I'll shave parts off the top.
Okay. So you're looking at the next unassigned area, or Ravendale, Chandler Park, that area?
Yes. This is going to get, but maybe take Chandler Park. If you have to take more, you could take Chandler Park, Chalmers, but then some of that 12.
It's not currently in 12.
No, I know it's not in 12.
Okay, 11 is very close. I'll zoom out so you can take a look. So presumably the deficit in 14 is roughly equal to the unassigned population here.
Commissioner?
Yes, Commissioner E.
If I may.
Sure.
I think I see exactly what you're trying to do. I think it's smart. I like this configuration. A lot of this is going to come down to where you want these 3 neighborhoods to be. What I would suggest is going back up and starting in 7, and then you can equalize the population from 7 to 11, and then you can decide if you want to keep going from 11 into those 3 neighborhoods or 12 into those unassigned neighborhoods after you fix the population on 14.
So what Commissioner Eid was saying is 14 needs more population, so one option, like he said, would be to go into 12 or 11 potentially to get your additional population.
And then those downstream changes will allow you to assign Morningside, East English Village, and Cornerstone Village to whichever, you could decide between 12, 10, 9, or 11.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that it should go into 12.
Me too.
Not the points. Okay, so John, let's go into 7. This is the park commissioners. As you know, you already know me, that I have a difficult time with because it involves putting Detroit into some suburbs. I agree with there are certain areas across the 8 Mile, that northeast part of Detroit. It wouldn't be the end of the world for it to go into 7. However,
7 is currently on population. It's 14 that's low. So the adjacent districts are 7, 8, 12, and 11. So you could take population from 12, 11, which we're just working on, 8 or 7, to complete 14.
say that again.
Sure. So 14 is the one that's currently underpopulated. So the adjacent districts are 7 here, 8 here, 11 here, and 12 here. So you could take from any one of those districts. So for example, if you did not want to cross 8 Mile, then you could take from 12. For example.
Okay. Let's take from 12.
Okay. So this is the border between 14 and 12, so you would take these
Exactly.
potentially?
Yes.
Okay.
So let's start chipping off the western border of 12 and putting that into 14.
Okay. So I just put the population totals on to give us an idea of how much population this is. So your deficit is 15,000. So you get 7, 12, 18 without going into East Point. So roughly some combination of these will get really close to where you want to be.
Thank you, John, for your wonderful math. We can start taking out those pieces, the 3,462. And again, we're adjusting for the population. 14 is under, so we're currently moving areas of 12 into 14 so that we have the correct population for 14.
Okay, so those adjustments put 14 right on the money, and it does not cross the municipal boundary if you wanted to be sensitive to that.
Okay, that's good. So now let me look and see.
So now 12 is underpopulated, right?
Okay, John, we're going to go back to that area. Yep, go get my people, put them into 12.
Okay.
And commissioners, as we know, the East English Village, Cornerstone Village, and Morningside community are a very tight-knit community. There's a lot that they have done to revitalize that area. It's another community of interest in terms of wanting to be together and without breaking the neighborhoods.
Okay, so this appears to have accounted for all the unassigned population. I could run a check if you want to confirm that completely, or we can just go with this and make adjustments to probably 11 and 12.
Okay.
Yeah, so 12 is over by 5,700 and 11 is under by 3,700. So you potentially can split something between these and balance those out if you like.
Okay, that sounds good. Sorry, translators. I'm giving you all sorts of sound effects.
So 11 would need to gain a neighborhood, for example, Wade.
Wade, yeah.
Okay.
And what is that, Eden Gardens?
Probably Wade will just about do it. So let me click that in and see how that looks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 12 is still a little bit over at 3,100. So you could continue if you wanted, or you could adjust it elsewhere.
You can try other area, though 11 is just so close. You can try.
Between the two of them, they'd both be overpopulated by like 1% if we evened them out.
Commissioner Wagner, your hand was up.
So we
Do you
can
have something?
I was just going to ask Brittany, I don't know if it matters, but on that up where you were just working that top right left of Cornerstone Village, does that need to be put in from 10 into 12 if you're putting that part? Yes. Is that part of Cornerstone Village?
It is. That would affect the population of 10.
Yeah, that's what it wouldn't be much because there was only 1,003 there, but I didn't know if Brittany wanted to keep that whole village together or not.
That would
Thank you, Commissioner Wagner. I do want to put that into 12. I didn't see that.
Okay, that would put 12 more overpopulated.
Well, John, we have to do what we need to do.
Okay.
Cornerstone Village, they were very clear, and Morningside, that whole area, and that was, I didn't do that on purpose. I think that's just like the function of mapping. So we're going to put that area that's in 10 currently into 12 to keep Cornerstone together. Because those are 1,000 people that likely would not be happy if they were separated.
Okay, so now 12 is over by 4,000.
Yes, so we'll go back and take Eden Garden and put that into 11. Eden Gardens, excuse me.
Okay, 11 is positive 185 and 12 is positive 144.
Okay. Um, I think for right now I can live with that. Commissioners, do you have any objection with the way the numbers are now? Mostly because I wanted to also try an overlay after these tweaks. So I'm trying to figure out, are these numbers that we can live with? This is Commissioner Kellum with a shared turn all the time. Now I'm looking to my left to ask you all, and for those that are remote, are these numbers that we can live with for right now?
John, could you pop out the matrix so we can see the list and make it a little bigger? And Commissioner Wagner, you have a question?
I was just gonna tell Brittany they look good. Brittany, go ahead and do your tweaks you want to do.
Thank you, Commissioner Wagner.
Yeah, you got them all under the 2.5 deviation.
Okay, Commissioner Callahan, thank you for inspiring me to draw 8 the way that I wanted to after however many days. So what I wanted to try is this map, but overlaying a city county, sorry, I have my retainer in now, city council district map. I want to see what the, how it compares. So John, if you can grab that overlay and place it over Lily, then I can see what I'm looking at.
Okay, so you sent me the city council boundary proposals that were available, so I'll pull up a PDF of that and then I'll show you. I did some approximations to bring that into the mapping software. So,
Thank you.
Just one moment.
Oh, Brittany, Commissioner Weiss pointed out that District 1 is slightly over the 2.5. It's 2.7 something. I'm sure you could do something little.
We, the operative word is we, can all, we can go back and look at that. One being slightly under.
Or maybe your overlay will help you. Help us.
One thing we could do also, I can put the neighborhoods back on and see if there's anything that's not following the neighborhood boundaries, and that might be an easy fix.
Okay.
So for example, this neighborhood is already split, so that might be a place where you could just take a little more of that neighborhood, which is already split.
Let's do that, John, and see what we get before we do anything else.
So again, you're just looking to take, do you want to take the entire neighborhood or just the minimum to get below negative 2.5?
I mean, we can start with a minimum.
Okay.
I'm always going to be a fan of keeping neighborhoods together.
Okay.
I wish Diego, our person that was here giving public comment, was still here. But let's take what we need to balance things first. I know where that neighborhood is. I just realized what I was looking at. Porter Street. There's some industrial. I don't know what they do over the water. It looks like that's like a loading area when I drive by.
Yeah, it's the West Side Industrial, and as it turns out, it is very sparsely populated, so you can both, I believe, clear the minimum maybe, and also unite the neighborhood, but let's see. No, not quite enough.
And I don't know if I necessarily want to go into Corktown. John, you crack me up. Is that you tracing the area like you have an idea? What do you all think about taking that piece that's into 9 and putting that into 1? The rest of that industrial area off by the Detroit River where Jefferson is.
I think when we were discussing this area before, it was put with what you're trying to put it with, I can't see the district number now, but in 1 with the other districts there. Or the other neighborhoods there, I mean.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Orton. I don't know how much population is there, but we can try.
It could end up being 0.
That's what it kind of looks like, honestly.
No, a little bit there.
You get towards WC, might be still 0.
Yeah, it's this one here. The actual block goes over here. So let's assign it and then unassign it if you don't like it. Okay, so you may not want to mess with this now, but there are some water blocks we could look at that will have zero population. But for now, this takes care of what Commissioner Weiss was talking about.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong. Let's try the overlay of the council district map. And at first glance, just to give some context of this map, I think it does a pretty good job, but I'm not sure. That's why I want to see the overlay of keeping some of the districts that were contested, keeps those neighborhoods together, particularly John R's and Eastern Boundary, Grigsdale Farms, Hope Village, Penrose. It includes some of the COIs that we've talked about that they aren't new communities of interest, but have historically been together for a long while. So I am interested to see what this map looks like over the Lilly, because Lilly already had some adjustments that we made that as a commission we were on board with, and then I made some tweaks to my same 8 Mile Livernois area. So I want to see where this fits. That's my thought.
Okay, so this is the map that you sent to me. This is, I guess, a proposed city council boundary option 2. And what you'll see is the city council districts are very close to the population of a House district. However, just remember there are some island communities that are in some of the districts you've drawn. So the boundary, because of that additional population, these boundaries might not quite fit perfectly, but I will overlay what I have.
Thank you, John. And that community that was the outline in the center of the council district map was the Hamtramck area, I believe.
Exactly. So these townships, cities rather, would be in one of the House districts. So again, it just won't be perfect aligned to this map, that's all. Okay, so the thick blue lines here are the council districts. So this is District 4, this is District 3, this is District 5, 6, 7, 2, and 1, and I'll just flip back to the PDF for a second. So again, this what I brought in here approximates the council districts. I didn't have a shape file, so I just used the PDF to guide me.
Can you put the neighborhood overlay?
Yes.
Thank you. Keep scanning, I'm looking. And if you could go west, if you don't mind, I want to see, yeah, that area. Mm-hmm. Okay. Personally, I would be interested in tweaking the map, tweaking Lily a little bit more, because I think what the overlay, again, we're not trying to achieve perfection, but like much, much, much better. I think the overlay keeps neighborhoods together even more. And by neighborhoods, I need to be specific in what I'm talking about. The communities of interest, as we see, is similar to the numbers and our standards that we have. I don't exactly know if I want to do that this evening in case someone else wants. I know that other people might want a turn, but I do like what I'm looking at. Our map, this map, Lily, is very close to this, but I think with some minor changes, it could get even closer to what we're seeing in the bold blue areas. I'm open to any feedback with that, but that was my hope. I wanted to see both. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Good job, Commissioner Kellum. It's actually time for us to move on to Executive Director report. Oh, and Commissioner Eid had his hand up.
No, I just want to agree with that. I think overall, like the main ideas are pretty close to the Detroit City Council overlay. It's not going to be perfect because you have Hamtramck and I cannot think right now. And Highland Park to worry about in that as population, but the overall ideas I think are pretty darn close. So I agree.
Okay, so I will save this plan and then close it down.
And we're calling that one Lily.
Yes.
Okay, so we will move on to our Executive Director report. Without objection, I will ask MICRC Executive Director Edward Woods III to provide his report.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Orton. At this time, Mr. Brace will run the partisan fairness on the 4 maps that are completed, and then they will also run partisan fairness on the last map that was just completed by Commissioner Kellum.
Okay. Microphone picking up okay? What we have done is, I'm just bringing up the rosebud plan. And I will demonstrate for you on how easy it is to run the partisan fairness ones or calculations. The partisan fairness calculations is a report, which is in the report section. And it is simply running a report, and it comes up with a list of the various reports that are available. There is a partisan fairness report that we have created, and you end up needing to select which are the calculations that are going into the partisan fairness. Now, we tend to, if I can have my glasses going right, we tend to look at the updated Democratic index for Dems as one, and the second one is the Republican updated index. In that instance, that is the spreadsheet along the bottom of your screens that is the updated one, which includes the 2022 election results, along with the rest of the earlier decade. By doing that, you can then display, and it pops up the partisan fairness calculations. So here is Rosebud in the partisan fairness calculation. So in this instance, it shows that for the purposes of lopsided margins, which is across the bottom here, the lopsided.
Excuse me, Mr. Brace, this is Commissioner Wagner. Is anybody else seeing a black screen for your sharing? Because that's all I'm seeing. I can't.
Yes, I am too.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Let me stop sharing and go back and share again. There we go.
Perfect, thank you.
Sorry about that. It pulled up and created a new screen image, and I was looking at the old one. So this is the Rosebud plan. It is there in the title of the file name. So partisan fairness for the Rosebud plan. And it has, if you remember the calculations and done 2 years ago, it has 4 different tabs. Those are the tabs that at least Dr. Handley talked about this morning. That includes lopsided margins, and it shows the overall calculation that goes into the lopsided margin calculation and shows the advantage or disadvantage for which party and what is the percent that is the advantage. Lopsided margins, of course, is upwards of the difference between the average Democratic victory margin and the average Republican victory margin. So that is 5.6% in the Rosebud plan. For the mean median difference, it looks at the median for the individual district calculations, the Democrat and Republican scores, which are these over here in column L. And it looks at then the statewide mean percentages that are coming up, and for the Democrat and Republican. And it looks at then the difference between those. And in this instance, it shows that Republicans are slightly advantaged by this score of 2.5%. On the efficiency gap looks at the number of wasted votes. If you remember Dr. Handley's discussion this morning, how many total wasted votes are on the Democratic side versus the Republican side, and what is the gap between these. And in this Rosebud plan, it's 3.1%. And then finally, on the seats votes ratio, you look at the share of the votes for the candidates on the Democratic side, how many seats is it generating what is the percent of the total chamber seat numbers that would be Democrat, and what is the proportionality bias in favor, and that's the difference in the seats and the vote shares. So what we have is you can immediately see these calculations for really any plan that we have. Now, I would caution all of you that we need to make sure that we have a complete plan. These calculations don't really mean anything until the entire, in essence, state is assigned. So with holes in some of the plans, it's really not advisable to run those yet because we want to have as much of a complete plan as we can. Now, you have basically looked at 4 different plans, and Dr. Hanley looked at 3 other ones. So we have run the calculations for all 4 of these plans, and let me stop share for a second because I want to show you a different spreadsheet. And that is, I have created a spreadsheet that will allow us to fill in the information from each of the individual plan spreadsheets for the different scores. So if you remember, Dr. Hanley had looked at the 2012 plan, which the Republican legislature enacted, and it looked at the average winning margins between Democrats and Republicans and the Republican advantage of 10.1%. Oops, sorry about that. Let me share that. There we go, sorry. I was looking at my screen, not what you were looking at, sorry. So what this summary spreadsheet table allows me to do is basically set up a row for each plan that we're looking at, and then report the different calculations in the rows for the plan. Right now, I've loaded in the 2012 plan, which is what the Republican legislature enacted, and the 2 different calculations we have for the Hickory plan, the one that you had passed in 2021. The first one is stopping at where we were looking at Hickory 2 years ago with just data that went up to the 2020 election. So last decade plus the 2020 election. That's in this first row. In the second row, we have added in the 2022 data, and if you recall, that is the 2 different tables at the bottom of Dr. Hanley's screenshots in her PowerPoint. And so I've done this kind of layout so that we can look at all of these, and we'll be able to fill in all the plans as they're being generated and fill in the numbers here. Now that's a manual fill in. It's not an automatic like what we just showed you, but we have set up, or I've set up this spreadsheet so that it is something that you can utilize to kind of keep track of where all the different plans are and how they can compare on all 4 calculations. So with the mean median differential, there is calculations here. I need to fill out the advantages and the scores there. On the Hickory, we have the efficiency gap, the wasted votes, and the way that those are calculated, and and who is advantaged, and then the seats votes ratio and how those are calculated. As we get plans, we'll be able to fill in the various plans. Again, as I mentioned, we want to have whole plans so that we're seeing a complete set of information. If you remember, Dr. Hanley said this morning that when I ran that one earlier, you can run it on any kind of calculations that are in the spreadsheet. So if you recall, and I'll go back and share another spreadsheet. So for example, the partisan fairness spreadsheet, it is pulling in this instance, the composite scores, because that's what we identified when we were looking at the plan and running that partisan fairness. So those two boxes that were there, that drop-down menu had, let you set up which of the data you want to compare. And as Dr. Hanley said, you could do individual elections if you wanted to and look at just the 2020 presidential race, for example, or something like that, and see what that is. There's a lot of different ways of looking at it. The composite score gives you the overall advantage in all of the data. And so that's why we put the composite scores. But these spreadsheets can be run to show anything along here, and then that's taken into account in all of these calculations. A spreadsheet is created, as I showed you before. Excuse me. A spreadsheet is created whenever you're running partisan fairness. And what we will be doing is we'll not only fill in that summary table that we showed you, but we'll also have these fairness reports for the individual plan up on our website to go along with the map of the plan and all of the other information that we do for each plan. This will allow the commission and the public to see what is the information that comes about because of all these calculations. I'm happy to take any questions that anybody might have.
Commissioner Wagner, did you have your hand up?
I was just wondering if he was going to do that for all 4 completed plans, like, I think.
Yes, all the, we have, in keeping track of what you guys have done, we have 4 plans right now. Rosebud is that first one. I know I'm not going to pronounce that right, but the one that starts with a B, that flower, the daisy and the lily, and I don't know that we have tulip done yet, but I've got all 4 of those done and run, just like the Rosebud one. I have, let's see. So, for example, where's Rosebud? All right. That's Bergamon, all of the calculations for that plan. So all of these have been run so far, as long as we have a final plan, or a relatively final plan. We'll have this up there, and what plan makes it up, you can see in the title. We've adopted the titles and the calculations, the plan names that Sarah is keeping track of, and the master list of the plans that are being created, so that we'll be able to then track those and show any spreadsheet that you need.
Commissioner Callahan?
Hi, so I just have a quick question here. I guess this is being a new commissioner, the first time I've gone through this, trying to work with the partisan fairness data. I understand the 4 criteria and how they're calculated and run against reports, and that it applies to the whole state. But once we have this data, say starting tomorrow, is this the report we would look at for any individual map and determine which specific districts, as you've got them listed here with percent budget, how do we make adjustments to the maps once we look at it and we want to try to make it more fair? What's the process for that?
The process, there are 4 different calculations and the way to understand the data. The one that, as I remember, the commission 2 years ago tended to look more at the tail end of your process at looking at seats vote ratios and whether or not the plan and how the vote share compared to the seat share compared. So that was one major score, as I remember, that the commission looked at in terms of that. But efficiency gap is also one. The other, I mean, you've got, as Dr. Hanley said, you've got 4 different ways of looking at it, giving you slightly different scores. That is useful for most of us analyzing to see whether one individual score is slightly biased more in one way or the other compared to the other scores. So you kind of take a look at all of these together to see how it is. Now, for example, in the efficiency gap, we know that looking at the wasted votes and how any of these plans are drawn, there is a basic finding more towards the Republican side in a lot of these scores. So it's not necessarily, there's a slight bias towards Republicans in the state of Michigan, is what the data is showing us.
Did that answer your question?
I guess we'll find out tomorrow.
Okay. Commissioner Zedella.
Good evening, Tim. I had given you a list of 4 complete plans that I asked you to run the partisan fairness on. Did you get a chance to run those? They didn't have flower names yet because we hadn't imposed that naming convention yet, but it was 01-1724 version 3, 01-1824 version 2, 01-1824 version 3, and then 01-22 version 2. Did you have a chance to run those?
I have your list in front of me. I've run, I think, 2 out of the 4, and I'll run the other 2 tonight for you.
Thank you so much. That would be fantastic.
Any other questions for Mr. Brace? I don't, Commissioner Zedella, your hand is up. I don't know if that's again or still.
Oh, sorry. Let me try to take it back down. Is it down now?
It's down.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Woods, do you have anything else?
Mr. Brace, did you do all the partisan fairness, including the one that just was completed by Commissioner Kellum?
Yes. I've got the 4 of them that have gotten names to them. Those so far, it seems like the commission had finalized relatively those plans, and so I felt safe in running those. And the commissioner just, the 4 that she's identified, I'm running those. I've already run 2 out of the 4.
Okay, and then what about, and you'll run Commissioner Kellum's last map that was completed?
And yes, I'll run Commissioner Kellum's one too. All right. That is on John's machine. I don't have Commissioner Kellum's plan, but he can run them right now.
All right, and can we be able to do that tomorrow morning?
Certainly, yeah. And I'll add Commissioner Kellum's plan into that master list of all the scores for all the plans.
All right, thank you very much. Just want to remind everyone that Commissioner Lang talked about the Michigan MICRC virtual town hall meeting that will take place. This is notifying the public that will take place Thursday, January 25th at 7:00 p.m. Once again, that will take place Thursday, virtual town hall at 7:00 p.m. We will be issuing a release out tomorrow, so you will know how to register. It will be a Zoom meeting, so if you want to have the best opportunity to interact with the co-hosts, Rhonda Lang, and co-host commissioners, Rhonda Lang and Brittany Cullum, we invite you to register. And if you do not want to register, you can also participate on the commission's YouTube channel as well. But if you want to have an direct experience, talk in real time, you will need to register through the Zoom link that will be issued out tomorrow. Also want to alert the commission that as it relates to our mapping process and procedures, that Sarah Reinhardt will provide a presentation on Friday that talks about deliberation, the public hearing, and adoption of final map procedures for the commission's consideration. It will be a presentation on Friday, and then the commission can vote on it on Monday. Once again, it's a presentation on Friday for the commission to vote on it on Monday. Let me see if there's any other things I need to share with the commission. Oh, I want to thank the Michigan Department of State, in particular, Megan Shaw. She was the one that brought the computers here for our new commissioners. So let's give Megan a round of applause, because if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have them. So really grateful to Megan for that. I want to thank David Moore for updating our website. For those of you who have been asking questions, you can find right off the home page how to view draw maps. And in addition, you can find how to put comments in either the public comment portal or the mapping portal. That is all updated and on the front page. So I want to thank David Moore for that. And want you to know the public is out there. And last but not least, we got to give credit to Sarah Reinhardt. So let's give Sarah a round of applause for all she's doing and juggling and making things happen. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. And at this time, Commissioner Orton, that's all I have. And please note for the record, I've finished before 8:30 p.m.
Good job. Commissioner Eid.
I was just going to ask Kim, can you just add all of those to that spreadsheet so we can look at them all together tomorrow? And I think he already indicated that he would, so we're good.
Kim, he asked you, Mr. Brace, he asked you a question. Can you start?
I asked if you could just add all of those maps that you talked about a second ago to that spreadsheet you showed us, so then we can look at the results of everything at the same time. Right, cool, thank you.
Okay, are there any announcements?
I move we
Seeing
adjourn.
Okay, there's a motion to adjourn, and it's seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of adjourning, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed, raise your hand and say nay. The ayes have it, and we are adjourned at 8:20.